An estimated 30% of the world's total land area is covered by forests. So what does it mean when so much of it is being stripped away? I'm joined now by Ryan Sarsfield with the Global Forest Watch program at the World Resources Institute. How does deforestation impact the planet?
It has a huge impact for life on Earth, life on land. We would say about 80% of all life on land lives in forests. It has a huge impact for climate change, keeping our climate stable, keeping water and air clean and abundant. And it has a huge impact on people's livelihoods, because about 1.5 billion people worldwide make their livelihoods directly from forests.
We put together a graphic which I want to show folks. The numbers don't appear to be as grim as what some might think. So let's take a look. These are the changes in total forest area. It's from 1990 to 2015. Starting at the bottom, sub-Saharan Africa lost nearly 12% of its forest. Latin America and the Caribbean lost nearly 10%, but every other region actually gained forest areas. So help us get inside these numbers. What do they tell us? What do they mean?
So the definition of forest varies tremendously depending on how you look at it. What is a forest isn't such a simple question to answer. If you include a tree plantation, for example, if you cut down that tree plantation, are you deforesting or are you harvesting something you've planted already, right? So these figures, when you look at the total amount of forest on Earth, in some areas it's increased for various reasons. Sometimes because there's been regeneration, there's been replanting of plantations. But we have to look at what is in the forest and the kind of forest it is. Is it primary forest? Is it a plantation of a single species? Is it forests that are contributing to conservation? So there's a great amount of variance in that data. That's one of the things we're working on at Global Forest Watch, is to really dig into that and show exactly what's going on year to year and even week to week in the forests.
Speaking of week to week, we just had a live report from Mei Lee in California. I grew up in Southern California. You get these winds, the trees themselves very tender. Boy, they burn in a hurry. So one thinks logging is to blame, but we're seeing a lot of fires, not just in California. I know there's record fires going on in Portugal, Spain, Russia. We're seeing them all over the place. And of course, you were talking about climate change and all of that, El Nino. What's more responsible, or is it a combination of things? Is it logging? Is it fires? What's happening out there?
So fires have a natural role in a lot of ecosystems, but most of the fires we see in places like Indonesia, places in Brazil, where they're contributing to deforestation. They're often used as a tool by people to manage the land, as we have across the world for quite a long time. And they need not be a huge impactor on the forest. But the way it's been done, by and large, is huge fires. They get out of control. They're used to clear the forest and replace it with something else. And that's something we want to avoid. In the case of California, we have fires that sometimes start on their own, or they're set by people, but they become catastrophic and affect people's houses and homes and the forest and the ecosystem as a whole. So we want to avoid that too.
We have another graphic. This concerns wildfire. Let's take a look at this. The World Wildlife Fund tracked the biggest risks to wildlife populations, I should say. Nearly half of wildlife loss is linked to habitat change and habitat loss. So tell us why all of that matters as well.
So, like I said, most of life on Earth, on land, is in forests. It's these fireflies. We have a town all going up in the hills and getting excited about essentially an insect nightclub. All these fireflies coming together for romance. There's that beauty and wonder of nature that matter, but it's obviously an economic driver for this town. They also get money from logging from that forest. They do it in a sustainable way. So there's an example of using tourism and sustainable management of a forest to make a living and protect the forest at the same time. But the importance of forests globally, it can't really be underestimated. We're talking about not just one of the major drivers of climate change, but also one of the best and cheapest solutions to climate change, how we manage forests. If we protect them, if we manage them well, and we reforest as well, that can really put us in a better position to deal with all the emissions from fossil fuels, from cars, et cetera.
Let me ask you this as a final question. What keeps you up at night when you think about this issue, and where do you see signs of encouragement? Give us both the glass half full and the glass half empty.
It's easy to look at certain parts of the world with the data we have at Global Forest Watch and see what's going on, and sometimes on a week-to-week basis, to see a logging road being created almost in real time, to see huge swaths of forests in places where the biodiversity is really critical, and watch that disappear fairly quickly. So that keeps me up at night, because you can see what's going on. You can see it over such a wide scale in so many parts of the world. So that shocks me. I think it should shock a lot of us. What gives me hope, though, is that the drivers of most of this, which 80% of what drives deforestation in the tropics anyway, is agriculture. And in the agricultural world, all along the supply chain, the traders, the meat packers, the companies that buy this, the supermarkets, the consumer goods companies, all along, they're cleaning up their act. It's taking a long time. It's going to take even longer, but they've started to make commitments to clean up what they're doing, to be more careful in where they source from. So we're really getting to the heart of the problem. And we're finding that if we are careful through companies, and the consumer choice matters in this, but the companies have to make the decision where they buy from, they can start to buy from areas that aren't driving further deforestation. And we can try to, over time, steer it in the right direction and manage lands in a way that supports people and for wildlife.
You make it a very interesting subject matter. It's complicated, though. That's the one thing, the number one takeaway from all of this. Ryan, thanks so much for taking time to talk to us tonight. Really appreciate it.